for a while and people who are pretty new to the company, I thought we'd take it in terms of treating it like we're introducing everyone to the company, because I think along the way you might know might learn some things about the company and its founding and where we've been and where we're going that you may or may not have known. There'd probably be a few things that you haven't heard of before, but certainly when people were first introduced to actives and decided to join the company, there was something that attracted them. It may have been the person that introduced you and you fed off their excitement. It may be that you heard about one of three things: the people of actives, the products of actives, or the opportunity that comes with being from actives, or a combination of all those. I think we've talked about the fact that the founders, myself and Ryan Thompson and Angie and others have had a lot of experience, successful experience in this industry. So the good news is we know it works, and we know people that have done very well, and we've created companies from scratch. And what's really interesting is even those people that joined us a year ago, 2 years ago, in the case of Paige and Jerry, I don't know, it's not quite 3 years ago probably, but it's getting close to there. We're actually a radically different company now in some respects than we were then. When we first started out, we were just in Mexico. We had just one product, genomics. Now, on that note, going back to the people, we talked about the experience we've had, but it should never go without saying just the science and the scientists behind our products. And genomics has been formulated by really a world-renowned scientist and really a pioneer and continued cutting-edge practitioner in the field of free radical biology and oxidative stress, and in Dr. Joe McCord and his team at Pathways Biosciences. And we've since evolved from then into introducing Link and Optimend and Emora. We're now in Peru, the United States, and Japan. We have a surprising amount of revenue and sales coming from countries like Bolivia and Colombia through our Global Connect program, and that we think will continue to move on. And so as a result of that, another thing that's drastically different than from when Paige and Jerry and others joined us is, frankly, the company has done a couple of things. One, we've defied the odds. Most companies don't make it 3 years. And that's true of whether in network marketing or any other industry. And the reason for that is the way I put it is that you run out of runway. A jet needs a certain amount of runway to take off. And if the runway runs out, then that jet doesn't have enough room to get enough momentum and take off. The runway in a business's case is the amount of money you've got to continue to keep going and operating. And in the early days, with all startups, unless you're being started by a billionaire or something like that, money is usually something is pretty tight. And those of you that are starting up new things, Dr. Nancy is starting something that's not too old, and she can probably appreciate that there's always a lot of expenses, right? And there's always ways to spend money, no matter what. And we were in that same boat, and we had our ups and downs and and tight things. I was actually talking to, I was making an investor presentation, because the other thing you should know is that while I am the largest shareholder, there's no one that has a majority. The good news is we have control of the company within a group. All of the investors and all my partners are friendlies, so to speak, but we also have an even tighter group of friendlies, so we don't lose control of this company, as frankly has happened in the past. And we just decided we weren't going to put ourselves in a position where outsiders could come in and take advantage of the work that we built and the things that we built and go on from there. But as I was talking to a group of investors just 3 weeks ago, doing a presentation, I was telling them that a year ago, I was in a similar case, and I would talk about my optimism about the company, and that my optimism about the future may have been based more upon my natural optimism than the actual facts that were before me about what the company was doing. We were doing okay, but it was tough. It was really tough sledding. And just about that time, we were headed into the pandemic, and we're like, whoa, now what? And travel screeched to a halt. And those of you that have been around it for a long time know that traveling out and holding meetings and doing all that kind of stuff is kind of the bread and butter of this kind of business. And we had to pivot, and we had to pivot strongly. But now, a year later, well, I can tell you this, that through the 8th day or 9th day of the month, we've already done as much revenue in this month of February as we did the entire, so far, you know, in 8 days of February, as we did in the entire month of February last year. That's how drastically different we've done. And things are moving along, and people, and that's really happened because of people recognizing the opportunity and choosing to run with it. What's also interesting is that in our investor base, you might find this kind of interesting. We have a lot of, because one of the founders is a fellow by the name of Randy Haig. And you won't really see Randy's name out there much. You'll hear about him every once in a while, but he was a founder because he was, along with me, the ones that raised the money and put the money into the company for the most part. And he is a very accomplished senior amateur golfer. In fact, he's one of the top rated amateur golfers in the world. And so he surrounds him, and there, I wasn't aware of this because I'm not, I don't even like to think of myself as senior, but I probably am senior, but I'm certainly not a world-renowned amateur golfer, that's for sure. And I don't play a lot of golf because I do other things. I like to golf, but it's not one of those things that I just have a strong passion about. These guys do. They were mostly all college golfers, some of them former professional golfers, and many of them have done very well in their walks of life so that they can go and get engaged in and participate in all of these amateur golf tournaments held throughout the United States and throughout the world. Well, recently, one of these golfers, an actual professional golfer who's on the PGA Tour, just joined us as an investor. His name is James Hahn. And in fact, I was really hoping he was in the lead for you Phoenix people in last week's Phoenix Open until about three or four holes left in the entire match. He was in first place. And I was thinking, this is going to be so awesome. You know, a week after he invests in our company, he wins a PGA championship. Unfortunately, he fell off a little bit, and I think he ended up taking 5th or 6th place. Poor guy. Because of that, he only made $200,000 for that tournament. I hope he'll be able to sleep at night. But nevertheless, it's kind of fun. You know, some of these guys, tell you a little bit of the background. We have we have some investors who are doctors. Some of our members of our advisory team, Matt Winter and Rish Patel, are also investors. We have people who are involved in large real estate companies like Discovery Land that builds really exotic golf course communities throughout the world. One of the guys is named Gene Elliott. He's actually the highest ranked senior amateur golfer in the world. You know what his business is? He and his family have a business where they sell garbage trucks to municipalities. You know, you think about it, it's like, well, somebody's got to do it, but I never really knew anybody who did. Another guy by the name of Dave Nelson is a CPA. He started a really interesting company, and it's an insurance company, but it's not the type of insurance that you think about, that you normally think about. Have you ever seen these things where you go to a charity golf tournament and there's a par 3, and if you get a hole in one, you'll win a car? Or maybe a college has a half court shot at halftime, and if the student hits it, they win $10,000 or something like that, these big giveaways. Well, these companies that do this, whether it be for $100,000 or $1 million, they get those things insured because they really don't want to come out of pocket just in case somebody does it. And guess what? Dave's company provides insurance for that. So and so they deal with car dealerships and all this kind of stuff, and he's built a very nice business. But one thing that they've all recognized is the same thing that you recognized, is that there's something about actives. And frankly, as wonderful as all the products are, one of the things that we don't talk enough about, frankly, is the financial opportunity that comes with actives. And I don't know if it's because we are a little skittish. Maybe we know about the fact that other people, when they've talked about opportunities, it comes across in kind of maybe a a cheesy or a smarmy way or something like that. Ground floor opportunities sounds a lot like Ponzi scheme, you know, all these type of things. So people are a little bit leery about getting into the financial aspect of it. But, you know, as I've said before, we started this company for a variety of reasons, but one of which was to not only help other people make money, but to help us make money and help our investors make money. And we're not shy about that. So the financial aspect of this is pretty clear. Now, the way that we get there, the vehicles, of course, are the products. And we've mentioned genomics being the first one that we've got. But it was, I'll let you in on a little bit of a secret. I don't know if you know about this, but in regards to other supplement companies, whether they sell products in the network marketing space, at retail, online, I can tell you. Now, I've been in the supplement space now since 1994. Okay, and you know, both at retail, network marketing, e-commerce, infomercials, all those type of things that I've had experience in, and I've never ever seen products like this before. And I'm not just saying that; it's really true. So let me give you an example. Christina Godoy sends me a text last week and said, "I know somebody who's had their gallbladder removed. Can they take Link? Should they take Link?" I'm like, I don't know. I'm not going to give you medical advice. That's not my background. But I'll talk to one of our doctors on the advisory board. So I talked to Dr. Earl, and he says, "Oh, absolutely. Not only can they take Link, they absolutely should take Link." And then he goes on in terms of all these, and Dr. Nancy would probably know about this, but somebody that doesn't has gallbladder issues or something, they're releasing all types of certain types of enzymes and things that are really kind of tough on the body, and so Link and butyric acid can be very helpful. Well, then she sends me another text. I think it was actually earlier today. I said, I have a friend who has a daughter that has a genetic problem, and it's called Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. Or I'm probably not pronouncing that correctly, but something like that. And it has something to do with genetically not being able to the connective tissue being defective and not forming enough collagen. It leads to joint issues, breaks, lots of issues. So it's interesting. So I just looked it up, and this is what sets us apart from other companies. You can actually, the extent of my detective work when it comes to things like this is really kind of like this: typing in Ehlers-Danlos and butyric acid, Ehlers-Danlos and oxidative stress, Ehlers-Danlos and curcumin. And guess what? Hits came up on all of those. Like, this is really pretty interesting, and I'll bet Dr. Nancy could talk about this, but in one of these studies, it started out like this. It made sense to me and resonated with me as soon as I read it, but I'd not really heard it put quite so bluntly. It said, increased intestinal permeability has been found in every autoimmune disease in which it's been studied. So we've all heard about autoimmune diseases, right? Rheumatoid arthritis, fibromyalgia, this Ehlers-Danlos and other things. Guess what they all have in common? Increased intestinal permeability, meaning that the junctions in their gut are not tight enough. And what's happening, went on to talk about how what science really thinks is probably happening is that undigested or not fully digested proteins and other nutrients that would otherwise be fine for you are slipping through these larger holes, and the body's recognizing them as invaders and attacking them and turning on the immune system, meaning the inflammatory response, in turn to try and burn them out. And so if you can tighten those junctions up, if you can feed those endothelial cells and close those holes, then not only are you absorbing nutrition properly and getting what you should out of food, but you're avoiding all these other issues. And I don't know about you, but it's awesome to me to think about virtually anything under the sun that we're dealing with. There's going to be studies out there that show it's tied to inflammation, it's tied to oxidative stress, it's tied to gut health, and to know that we have things on the leading edge of all of those things, man, it's just incredibly fulfilling. And I've never had this experience. I've never sold a product that I didn't think was great and had great benefits for people. Otherwise, I wouldn't. If there were things that I didn't think had great value, I wouldn't do it. But I've never been faced with something like this, and that's what I think makes Active so special. And then the other thing I've been thinking a lot about lately is the opportunity and the business side of things. And I've been thinking about Actives and comparing it to a Peloton bike. Have you seen those commercials for Peloton? Okay, with those stationary bikes. And apparently, all you have to do is buy one. You don't even have to use it, and you're going to look great in spandex, and your abs are going to just be ripped. And no, I mean, of course, I mean that's kind of the impression that you get, right? Just buy this sucker, and it's going to be fine. But what's interesting to me is that not only do you buy the Peloton for $2,000, then you sign up for with their app and their coaching, which comes at like 13 or 15 bucks a month. And you know, if you do it, I'm sure that you're pleased with the results. But unfortunately, the vast majority of people buy a Peloton, buy another bike, do whatever, but join a club, and then their excitement, they start a little bit, and then they don't see the results quickly. It's a little bit painful. They're a little bit sore. People look at them and say, "Seriously, you spent $2,000 on a bike? Can't you just jog in place?" I mean, there's criticism, whatever it is, and then they stop. Right. And I was thinking about how similar that is to people who join actives. Maybe some of you get excited. You're like, whoa, why, so-and-so joined this and they've had really good results, and I'm going to jump in and I'm going to do this. And first of all, sometimes you get disappointed when the person who invited you to join the company may come across like, well, they don't know that much more about this than I do. Well, that's not really that unusual, really, right? I mean, when somebody joins you to go to church, asks you to join and go to church, or go to an exercise class or whatever, you don't generally look at the person who invited you as the end all be all. You're like, oh, I'm glad you invited me, but you're going to look to somebody who's leading the group, right? And so I think sometimes we get caught up in that, and we also think, well, I should know more about this. I've been now involved in this for a year. I should be a lot better at this than I really am. Well, probably not. Think about any other aspect of life that you started something, you probably didn't master it in a year. You probably didn't master it in 2. I mean, I know I haven't. I'm not sure there's anything really I have mastered yet, to tell you the truth. So you just keep working on it. There's a reason why they tell us, even recovering lawyers and doctors, by the way, Dr. Nancy, right? We're practicing. At some point, you'd think we'd actually learn how to do it, but no, we're always practicing. And so I think people get too down on themselves, but I also think that they don't avail themselves, just like a person who has a Peloton and has been paying $13 a month. And frankly, even though it's hard, and even though they might not want to do it, if they really do get involved and do it, they're going to see results. Now, it's not going to be, they're not going to lose 10 pounds overnight. And they're going to be sore when they first start out and all those type of things. But if they do plug into the system, is proven to work. And that's the same thing here. If people will plug into the system, now we've tried to modify these things. So we've talked about, I know at the FAB level, the Field Advisory Board level, of kind of consolidating our meetings so that Tuesday nights are turned into actives nights. And so there's not a Monday night here, a Wednesday night there, a Friday night there. In fact, on that note, I think we'd previously announced that we were going to have our medical call, a medical forum on Friday, but now we're moving that. So that's going to be on the 4th Tuesday, all right, with Dr. Rish Patel. And so just plan on your Tuesdays being filled with corporate and distributor events, for business opportunities and things like that. And I can tell you that the other thing that we have in common with Peloton is that, or any type of exercise, to me, getting on a bike, I mean, I like to run. I like to do other things. It's hard for me to get on a stationary bike, but sometimes I do it simply because I get bored. Okay, so I've got to watch something. I got to do something, and they take that into account, right? By virtue of having people coaching you, telling you to go faster, go slower. They put different types of terrain in front of you. You can be biking through Moab, Utah, through Sedona, through Greece. You can do whatever you want, and it's kind of cool just to keep you motivated. But at the end of the day, what are you doing? You're still spinning the bike with your. You're not doing anything different. It's just the same activity. You're just pedaling a bike, and if you pedal that bike long enough and frequently enough, you're finally going to get the results. And I'm telling you what, the analogy works so much in regards to building your business here. There are no shortcuts. There really aren't. There are no specific pearls of wisdom. They're not. Everything you need to know to succeed in this business is within the success guide. And it may not sound very exciting. And guess what? Pedaling a bike is not very freaking exciting either, but you'll get the results that you want if you keep doing it long enough. And and when you fail, when you think I'm not doing this is not fun for me, it's boring. Again, doesn't that sound like exercise to a lot of people when they first start out? But what happens overall, and we've talked about this before, and Coco's a runner, she knows all about this. Those endorphins will kick in eventually. Coco, the very first time you went for a run, did those endorphins kick in such a way you thought, oh man, this running is awesome. I can't wait to get out there and do this again. Probably didn't happen, right? It took a while to do that. And by the time but then once you did, it becomes kind of addicting in a good way. And I can tell you that although maybe not scientifically proven, I'm pretty sure that there are network marketing endorphins that your body has. And some of you have experienced it. You've experienced it when you first introduced something to someone and they said yes. You experienced when you were able to speak at an event and participate. Those are some endorphins that are releasing, and that you got some good feedback from that. And I can tell you that the more you stick with it, the more that's going to happen. Now, we can do a better job though, I can tell you that, and we will, because one of the things I want to do is actually have a little bit more of a Peloton type of approach, where we put more videos, we put other things out there, because I really do think that to keep people engaged, you've got to keep them interested, you got to keep it varied, and you got to keep them motivated, right? And give them some examples of people succeeding and how it's working for them. And not just have to go back to the same old things we've heard about over and over again. No matter how tried and true they might be, it's still, you still can get a little bit boring. So look forward to more of those type of things. We've been trying to do a little bit better. Hello, Dr. West. Good to see you there. Where are you? It looks sunshine. Did you tape record this appearance? Because it sure looks bright and sunny wherever you're at. You must be in Hawaii. Are you in Hawaii?
Yes, I am. That's the sun's getting ready to set in a couple of hours here.
All right. Well, Stu Carvalho's there too. I'll give you his address. You can go visit him. You can go have dinner at his house tonight.
What part of Hawaii are you in?
Maui and Kihei.
Oh, nice.
Hey, Stu, it's good to hear your voice. We should connect for sure.
Definitely. I'm on Oahu on the North Shore out there.
Awesome.
So, yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry.
We'll meet each other. I like to go to Maui, so I'll come visit you.
Don't
mean to interrupt you guys. You're doing great.
I'm really sorry that I even asked either of you about an even Hawaii reference, because we are about as far from Hawaii as we can be. But it is good to see us, Stephen, and I'm also sorry I brought you went on screen, because now it just reminded me of what great hair you've got. You got that whole Fabio hair going on, and you know just rubs it in all the way. But anyway, it's good to see you, my friend. But anyway, how do I segue from there back to what we were talking about? I know what I'm going to talk about is that whether you have Dr. Stephen West hair or not, or whether you're in Maui or not, you can still succeed. And we're here to help. Really, we're here to give you information and also provide cover. Okay. And what I mean by providing cover is, you've heard me say this before, I'm not ever going to have Aaron or Coco or Dr. Nancy or anybody else say, I can't believe you scammed me into this company. Have one of your friends say that. We will not do that. And we provide cover for you by virtue of always providing products that really do have tremendous science, that a commission plan, an opportunity that really does pay out, and even if it's, and go ahead and borrow somebody else's story. If you are not like Martin Lita in Chihuahua, Mexico, if you're not making $20,000 a month yet, remind yourself that Martin Lita is in Chihuahua, Mexico, and he's making 20 grand a month. Okay, and he's doing it by virtue of nothing but sheer desire and hard work. He's failed. Do you know how many other network marketing opportunities he's failed at? I don't either, but at least it's like 4 or 5. Okay, it didn't happen. It's not like he just had this uninterrupted flight to success no matter where he's been. It hasn't happened. You guys ever been to Chihuahua, Mexico? He doesn't even live in Chihuahua. He lives outside of Chihuahua. Okay. Coco, is Chihuahua, Mexico, the garden spot of Mexico? Not exactly, is it? I mean, it's not exactly where you're going to go. I'll answer that question for you. It's not the garden spot of Mexico. Oh, it's fine. Okay, don't get me wrong, but it's not It's not what you think of. People don't go to Chihuahua on vacation, I'll tell you that much. All right. And so it's not like he's got any particular advantage at all. He's not college educated. He's not a doctor. He doesn't have a background in science. He just finally said to himself, I'm just going to do this. I'm sick of not being able to provide for my family. I'm sick of having a car that breaks down in the middle of nowhere with my wife and children aboard. I'm just going to do this. And so his techniques aren't for everyone. I think we've talked about this before. He will drive around. He'll drive into a small town, and he'll find like a hair salon. Okay, here we are talking about hair again. And what does he do? He walks in and unannounced. He doesn't even know a soul in the whole salon. Okay, and what he says is, I've got a great opportunity. I'm not asking if you're interested in it. I'm asking if you think you might know somebody who's interested in it, which it's actually kind of genius if you think about it, because it takes the pressure off of them and immediately steers them towards somebody else. Now, that said, even though it's kind of genius, I'm not necessarily recommending that. What I am recommending is that be like, if you really want to do this, if you really want to get your money's worth out of your $2,000 Peloton bike, ride it, and ride it a lot. And if you really want to get your money's worth out of your distributorship, well, first of all, if you want to get your money's worth and the health benefits out of the products, please, I don't care if you ever introduce this to another soul, please take the products every single day, seriously, and give them to people that you love every single day, and keep them from people that you don't love every single day. Because if you give them to people you don't love, they're going to stick around a lot longer. No, I'm just kidding. No, give them to everybody. And it really is. It should be a labor of love. And then what will happen is that you really will find yourself hitting your stride and getting those endorphins. So anyway, I kind of went off on a soapbox today. A lot of things have been on my mind lately, but I want to open it up for a few questions. We won't take much longer on a Tuesday night, but if there's some particular questions about actives, the company, the products, anything like that you'd like to ask me about, we can take a few minutes and do that. All right then, good. Oh, okay. No, I'm just kidding. Aaron, any questions for you? No, you're looking good. All right. Dr. West, any questions regarding actives?
I'd just like to reinforce what you just said about this guy in Chihuahua who's walking into businesses and saying, I have an amazing opportunity, and it's not necessarily something I think that's for you, but I'm interested in knowing who do you know who might be interested in this? Because we all know people within our organizations who feel like, how do I find people who have that question? And that is ingenious. Like, I really love what you said about it. Thank you for sharing that. I'm going to share that with some of the people that I have in my organization. So thank you.
Good. And definitely plug in. Everyone plug into the calls, plug in. If you don't know what the success guide is, read it, find it. And if you've got questions, talk to your upline. If they don't know the answer, keep going on. And ask me. I probably won't know all the answers, but I know some people like Ryan Thompson and Angie Hawthorne who do. And all together we can pretty much cover whatever you need. And in fact, really, we talk about the success guide and following the steps. What she just did there basically is what it's all about. Share and follow up. Share and follow up. That's really all it is. And then the rest of it is, I guess, there are a few details, identifying who you want to share and what you want to share with them. But there's so much content on that app. It's, in fact, one of the challenges that we have is that there's so much content. We are looking at ways to categorize and create the library so it's a little bit more streamlined for you. And we might move some of that, not only keep it on the app, but put it, say, for example, a library of all of the material on a separate web page, so that people can go back and look at more historical things and things like that. But there's things, whether it be testimonials about the products, scientific information about the products, with testimonials about the business, trainings on how to build your business. There's just a lot of stuff there. And And if nothing else, it's kind of like what Dr. Nancy has to do every once in a while is continuing medical education. You have to take refresher courses on things you've already taught, you've already learned. And for those of us who have been distributors and part of the company for a while, I think it's good to go back on those videos, not only to remind myself about the information, but it reminds me of the things I get excited about anyway. Maybe I haven't really been thinking about it too much. And I think we all need that in our lives, those reminders. And I guess I'll just close by saying that if you wonder who might be interested in this, it's people just like you. I mean, you associate with people for the most part who are a lot like you, for better or for worse, right? The reason they're attracted to you and vice versa is that you have things in common. And so one of the things I think that is most restraining to people is that they're worried about offending the person that they reach out to, right? And making them feel uncomfortable. And the thing I would ask you in reverse is, well, did it offend you, or did it make you entirely very uncomfortable when whoever it was that shared it with you did so? Obviously not, because you're here on this call tonight, so it must not have offended you too much, and you got over it. And I think the same thing's true. I think to me, it'd be much worse if Christina Godoy, who I referred to earlier and had the friend who has the Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, I think it's going to be worse if she chooses not to follow up with her, which I know won't happen because Christina will follow up. But let's just say you had this information about these products, because here's another thing that one of these scientific studies said. Increasing scientific evidence that nutrition may be a major factor in the pathogenesis or cause of many disorders once thought to result from defective genes. Wouldn't you think that people who that you know could really benefit from that, and 5 years later they find out, or they finally get the information and they say to you, well, Jerry, you knew this 5 years ago and you never told me? And Jerry's like, well, we're friends, I didn't want to offend you. And that person's going to say, Jerry, I don't think you understand what the word friend means. Friends means you share stuff that you think is important with them, and then you follow up. That's what friends do. And I'm picking on Jerry because I know he does that anyway. And but I think when we're down and we get discouraged and we wonder if this is ever going to work, just remember, get back on that Peloton or your Schwinn or whatever it is, your Nordic track, and just keep pedaling. Just keep pedaling and pedaling, and it's never going to get it's never going to be different, but it can get easier, and your progress will increase. That's what happens. A wise man once said that when you stick with something, okay, your ability to do it increases, not because the nature of the task itself has changed, but because your ability to do it has increased, right? And that really makes sense. And so it's, the action of pedaling the bike is never going to change, but the ability to do it better and faster and with more tension and all those type of things really will increase. And remember, nothing increases in size or strength without tension, without resistance. It's a law of nature that if there is resistance, there will be growth. Where there's no resistance, there's no growth. And so that's what I tell my wife all the time. I am her built-in resistance. And so she should have all this growth that she can really look forward to because of the tremendous tension I provide her. But I try to not do that all the time. So anyway, thanks for joining with us tonight, guys. Look forward to seeing you again. In a couple of weeks, I'm going to be down in Phoenix visiting with Dr. Nancy. Looking forward to that. And you didn't respond to my text when I said, please put somebody else's face on that picture you put out there. It'll be a lot more handsome than this old mug. But
I typed in haha, and I thought, well, maybe he's serious, so I deleted it.
No, shoot, if I wasn't bald, if I wasn't short and bald, half my jokes I just wouldn't even be able to use. So I mean, it's part of the shtick. So anyway, glad to see everybody. Love you all. Look forward to talking to you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.